The floor is yours, Cassandra.
Wonderful. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Cassandra Casperson, and as Bruno said, I work in the Student Programs Office at Los Alamos National Laboratory. And so I am going to speak with you about our internship programs that you can apply for right now, things you might want to consider applying for in the future. Before I pull up my screen, let me put a couple of links in the chat. So the first link is to my presentation slides that I'm going through today. And then I actually have also a host of resources that you can use to write resumes and cover letters that are specific to LANL because they're a little bit different. And I'll talk about that in my presentation as well. Please don't be shy. Ask me questions while we're going through because I want to make sure I get your questions answered. And of course, I'll also share my contact information at the end so you can follow up. If you're like me, you think of your questions later. So those two links are in the chat, and then I am going to pull up my screen. All right. So I know that you all, being so close to the lab, are probably pretty familiar with the laboratory, but I still like to just go over a couple of things here because as you're going to hear me emphasize throughout the presentation, whenever you are applying for a job or a scholarship or an internship, anything like that, you always want to make sure to research the organization before you apply. And so when I'm talking about Los Alamos, I'd like to point out Los Alamos is actually one of 17 national laboratories under the umbrella of the Department of Energy. So if you're not familiar with both LANL and the DOE, that might be something that you want to go look up and learn a little bit about before you apply. Each national laboratory has its areas of specialization, and at Los Alamos, we're a senior laboratory, and we actually execute in all areas of the Department of Energy's mission. We're most well known for our national security, non-proliferation, and weapons, but we also are charged with innovations in science, energy management, and environmental management. It is hard for a student to come up with a science area that we are not working in at the lab. We have so many people doing amazing things, people working on curing diseases, to creating artificial organs, to studying glaciers and lightning, and so many different amazing things that are going on. So if you think you want to apply, you're definitely going to want to check out our website and do some more research on all of the things that are going on there and how you might fit into the lab based on the type of work that's being done. So as I mentioned, I work in the Student Programs Office. LANL has such a large student program that we actually have our own office that's dedicated to helping prospective applicants, current interns, helping mentors who are working with students. We provide different types of guidance, like how do you do your application, like I'm doing right now, how to make the most of your internship while you're there. We also provide a lot of professional development opportunities for students who are interns. So the way our internship program works is a student is actually paired with a mentor. We call them mentors. So that's the student's primary supervisor and the person that you're working one-on-one with. So that is a staff member who has been trained to be an intern mentor. So they have training beforehand, and you get to learn from the seasoned professional who works at the lab. But in addition to that, you also get all of these professional development opportunities. Myself and my counterpart, Emily Robinson, we were both actually academic advisors for universities for years before we started working for the lab. So we can help with career guidance. We provide a lot of networking opportunities so that you can meet other scientists at the lab and other interns as well. Someday these people are going to become your peers. So it's great to, and possibly your coworkers, right? So it's great to get to meet those people. And then we also just have social events. We like to make sure that you're having fun during your internship. So COVID has reduced our numbers a little bit, but in a typical summer, we usually have actually over 1,800 interns that are interning at Lanel during the summertime. And that ranges from local high school seniors, and then we have undergrads, post-bacs, master's students, postmaster students, and doctoral students. I like to point that out because maybe the internship doesn't work for you right now, but it's something you could consider in the future. And we actually have had students who start when they're high school students, and they go all the way through their doctorate as interns at the lab. And during the school year, we actually also have about 500 interns that are still working. So there are year-round opportunities, which local students often take advantage of because you all don't have to necessarily move, right, to go back to school. So that's another excellent opportunity. All of our internships are paid. I have the links in the salary structure on here. Students are paid commensurate with their year in school and the degree that they're pursuing. And every year of school that's completed and you're an intern at the lab, your title and your pay will go up every year. So that's pretty nice. Of course, we have internships in all areas of STEM, both in research areas and in applied STEM. And so applied STEM is going to be your engineering technologist, maybe information technology specialist, cybersecurity. And it's a huge misconception that we only have internships for people in STEM. Yes, STEM is a big component of our internship program, but we also have a lot of professional non-science internships as well, particularly in the areas of business. So all areas of business, marketing, management, finance, accounting, those types of areas. Another important area is project management, and then human resources. So those are some of our big ones. Now that doesn't mean we don't also have other things. These are just the really big areas that we tend to have non-science students in. We actually have a lot of people who work in web design and communications as well, because we need to have a lot of internal and external communication. And this will just give you an idea. These are some percentages of our summer internship population by discipline area. And I think this is from the year before, I think it's from 2019 actually, summer. This will give you an idea of more accurate numbers so you can kind of see where we're hiring most of our interns. There's like 67 business interns, and then of course engineering is huge. In particular, we really need electrical engineers and mechanical engineers. And then people with computer science skills, like programming languages, things like that. We need lots of students who can do programming or IT or cybersecurity. But you can see we have so many different areas here that you can choose from. So to go over the requirements for the undergraduate internship program, the requirement is that a student has to be enrolled full-time as a degree-seeking student and successfully complete their courses each semester. And this is full-time enrollment in the fall and spring. We do not expect that students are going to be enrolled during the summertime. But we do expect that you'll be enrolled full-time in fall and spring. And I believe for NNMC, full-time is 12 credit hours. You can double check what full-time enrollment is at your school. Students who apply to the internship program have to have and maintain a minimum cumulative GPA of a 3.0 on a 4.0 scale. Can you all still hear me?
Yeah, we lost your image in the presentation.
That's what I thought. I was like, everything just went blank. Well, I can keep doing the eligibility requirements while it's connecting, because they're pretty straightforward. But I'll give it a second after that to connect. But our GPA requirement is a minimum cumulative GPA of a 3.0 on a 4.0 scale. And that is for all of the grades you earn by the time you start your internship. So for example, students who are applying to the internship program right now must include a transcript in their application that includes their fall grades from this past semester. All new employees at the lab have to pass a new employment drug test. And so when a new hire goes to orientation, that's when they'll be scheduled to do a drug test. And employees are subject to random drug tests throughout the entire time that they're employed by the lab. So those are our primary eligibility requirements. You also have to submit a complete application to the program, and I will go over that as well. Let's see here. Oh no. It looks like it's taken quite some time to reconnect here.
Do you want me to open the slides and then share, and then you can just talk?
That would be wonderful if you would mind doing that. The problem is I can't even stop sharing. Maybe I should log out and log back in, do you think?
I have everything ready and set to share the slides if you want to.
Oh, okay, perfect. So you can just share them. So if you go to the next slide that says, one minute here. I'm going to get my slides so I know where I'm at and what you all are seeing.
So
the next slide that says, correct, exactly. So we have a number of different internship programs that you can apply for at LANL. And where you want to go look for group-specific job postings is at lanl.jobs. And that's where you're going to access our online application system and see all the job postings that are offered. So there's a couple different ways that you find positions at LANL. You go to these job-specific, group-specific postings. And what that means is that an organization at the lab wants a student who has a really specific set of skills, and they've posted a job ad. And that could be the case for STEM positions, and it's actually always the case with non-technical professional positions that you have to find them on lanl.jobs. My office, the Student Programs Office, also hosts a number of what we call general capability specific postings. And I'm not expecting anyone to remember all of this right now. I will direct you to our website so you can read more about this. But we pretty much from August all the way until late March have these capability specific postings open in the areas of biosciences, computational sciences, and computational includes mathematics and statistics. We have engineering and we have physical science. The majority of students who apply for internships do apply to these general capability specific postings. Every year, they open on August 1st, and then they close either March 30th or 31st, depending on the days that year. But the deadline is coming up soon. If you're interested in getting an internship for summer, you really want to make sure and get your application in by March 30th. However, to be more proactive, I get your application in as soon as possible, because mentors are looking for students right now, and the majority of interns are going to be selected by the end of February. So it's not impossible to get selected after that, but really now is the time people are looking and setting up what they're doing for summer. And do notice that it's by 11:59 p.m. So you have to make sure you get your application in by then. Can you go to the next slide, how to apply?
Yeah, right there.
Great. So, like I said, you're going to go to lanel.jobs in order to apply, and that's our online application system. Sometimes our application system can be a bit fussy, depending on the browser that you're using. Firefox tends to work the best, but you can also check out Google Chrome too. That has worked. I like to tell students to clear their cache before they go to lanel.jobs. It just makes it a bit easier. So when you go into the system, you're going to need to do a short application where you put in your basic information, right? Your contact information, your name, your address, those types of things. And then you're also going to need to upload a cover letter, a resume, and a current unofficial transcript. And as I mentioned before, if you're applying for summer, make sure that your transcript includes your fall grades. Another really important thing when you're applying is that your cover letter should make sure to describe primary aspects of your background, like what are your key accomplishments. And those can be in school, in work, in your volunteer work, any kind of extracurriculars, maybe you play sports, those types of things. So you want to make sure to describe the things that make you a really strong candidate. And as I mentioned earlier, you want to make sure that you're doing your research about the lab and the areas that you fit into, and include, you know, about 2 or 3 academic areas of interest that you have in that cover letter. And you want to make sure that they correlate with work that's being done at the lab. If you only have one and you know, I am going to be a mechanical engineer, that's totally fine. But I like to tell people they can have more for people who aren't 100% sure what they want to do career-wise, because this is an internship is an excellent opportunity to do career exploration. The link to our internship program website is on here. You'll find information about all of our different programs, and you'll find, a lot more information that I'm able to go over in one presentation here. If you're gonna apply, I'd go to the internship program that corresponds to your academic level, and make sure you read everything about the program, because we have more resources on there as well. Next slide, please.
Here you go.
So the next slide, how to apply, continued. This is what our online application system looks like when you log in to apply now, or when you click apply now, this is where you're going to come to so that you can create an account and log in. So there's actually 2 different ways to apply. There's the application process for students who are not dependents of anyone who works at the lab. And that's on the left-hand side in the upper section of that blue box where it says create a Lanel Jobs account and register. That's for students who do not have a parent or a person that they are a dependent of at the lab. If you are the dependent of someone who works at the lab, then you want to go to the option below that where it says ex-employee, Lanel dependent, or former contractor. Then you'll click there, and that's how you'll start your application. There are screenshots that go step by step through the process for each of these things on the website. So if you're uncertain of what you're doing, definitely go to the website and get those instructions on how to apply. And then you can see there's a lot of things that you can do in quick links. You could just go to undergraduate jobs and look at all the undergraduate jobs. Or if you know that you're applying to a very specific program, you can go to job search and then vacancy name and actually put in the number of the job that you're applying for. Every position at the lab has what we call an IRC number. and you actually have to put IRC and then the number and vacancy name, and then it will pop up. And that's when you want to be sure that you read the job description carefully, and then from there, you'll be able to apply and upload all your documents. And Bruno, I just wanted to check before I go forward. Did anybody have any questions so far?
Yeah, Eduardo had a question. He asked if the transcript have to be unofficial because he already ordered an official one.
Oh, it doesn't have to be unofficial, no. An official one works just fine. You just have to make sure that you upload it to the application system.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
No, that's a
Thank
good question. Thank you. Is that the only question so far?
Yes.
And then next slide, please, on the special internship program. In addition to our group-specific job ads and our capability-specific job ads, we also host a number of internship programs with offices outside of the laboratory. These are typically other Department of Energy offices, NNSA, which is the National Nuclear Security Administration office, or sometimes it's a state organization. And the way it works is these offices help fund students to intern at national laboratories. These are typically really prestigious programs, and we have a couple of primary ones, and you go to the link and you can see all of them. But one really big one is the Science Undergraduate Laboratory Internships Program. That's a nationally recognized program where students come in as a cohort to do an internship. That one, the deadline has passed for summer, but you could consider doing that one in the future. Then there's also one through the Office of Environmental Management. And that program is actually open right now. And I think we have 10 different programs posted, specific internship projects posted. And this is going to be for people who have an interest in environmental studies. However, that doesn't just mean environmental studies majors. It includes people who are in computing, wildlife management, agriculture. There's so many different options. So if you're interested in any of those things, definitely check out the options that are available at LANL. And the deadline to apply for those is the 28th of next month. And I just wanted to briefly say, in case there are any faculty members who are here, that we also have a visiting faculty program for faculty members who are interested in using the facilities at LANL and coming during the summer to do some research and use the facilities. And then in case any of you all might know people, your family members or friends who are attending a community college, we also have a community college internship program, which is the counterpart to the Science Undergraduate Laboratory Internship Program. And the community college internship program is specifically for students who are attending two-year institutions. And this is a really awesome program. There's not tons of programs that target just community college students. Those are just some of our special programs. There's a whole host of them, but I like to make sure and point them out. Participating in these programs can help students with their placement chances because they come with either full funding or partial funding from the institution that's doing the program. These ones are different because they each have their own application process. And so you actually have to go to their website and see their applications because you're applying to them first. But definitely check those out because those are.
I have a question. So
Yes.
for access the links, you just click these are hyperlinks, right?
Yes, they should be.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, guys, Cassandra shared the slide in the chat. So just go to the slide and then you guys have access to the hyperlink and it will be easier. Thank you.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah, I just checked and it looks like they're working. So you can get more information. So on that first one, that first hyperlink, externally funded special programs, you can go to the entire list. I just pointed out some of the more popular ones, but you can get the full list on our website at the first link. And I am the point of contact for these programs at LANL. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me about these programs as well. If I can't answer it, I'll help you get in touch with the program contact. Next slide, please. So I wanted to go a little bit through the selection process so that you understand how it works at LANL. So all hiring at LANL of interns is completely driven by the mentor, whether or not they have funds and time and a project that a student is able to work on. So they're the ones who make the decision who's getting hired. And typically what a mentor does when they're looking for a student is they go to that online application system database and they start searching for students in that system using a search bar. This is why it's so important to put your interest areas in your cover letter, because that's going to help it pop up when mentors in those areas are looking for students. But they typically go to that database, look through the applications that are relevant, and then they narrow it down to their top candidates. Once they've identified their top candidates, they're typically going to just contact you right away by phone or email to do an interview. So once you've uploaded your application and you apply, you want to make sure that you have a professional descriptive phone message on your phone. I just have something like, "You've reached Cassandra Casperson and I will call you back as soon as I'm able," so that they know they've reached the right person. And you also want to make sure you're checking your messages and your email at least once a day, if not more, once you apply, because you don't want to miss someone who's interested in scheduling an interview with you. We have a lot of students who never get to the interview phase because their phone voice mailbox is either full or it's not set up. And so definitely don't let that happen to you. Make sure your voice, your email is all set up and that your voicemail is all set up. Now, once a mentor picks their top candidate, you're going to have to complete a host of hiring paperwork immediately in order to, it takes like 45 days to process hiring paperwork. That's something, if you're interested in the lab, it's a very bureaucratic institution, and that means it requires lots of paperwork, right? And so just be aware of that that's something you would need to do right away. Now, you don't have to just wait. Oh, next slide, please. Sorry, Bruno. I'm getting ahead of myself. So the next slide should be tips for finding a mentor. Thank you. You don't have to just wait for a mentor to contact you. We actually have resources that you can go through to identify the names of people who might be working on projects that interest you, and you can reach out to them directly by email. We call these prospective mentors because they're someone who you would like to be your mentor, right? So you can always reach out to people who are the points of contact, that's POCs, for different offices. But my hands down favorite resource is the intern project description book. So it's on the third bullet, and you'll get the link to there. But there's actually, I think, 3 different project books available on our website. And those are examples of internships that students completed the past 3 summers. So they're actual internship, projects that they worked on. So those are organized by discipline area. So you can go in there and see, what did all the interns last summer who submitted a project description, what did they do in engineering or environmental and earth science or chemistry or biology? This is an invaluable resource because not only does it help you research the lab, but when you go to a project description and you look in the upper left-hand corner, you will see the name of the mentor that they worked with, and you will see the name of the organization the student worked in. So these will help you find not only the prospective mentor, but maybe you want to look up that department and see what other mentors are doing in that department as well. So you can compile your list of names of people you'd like to work with and send that to me or my office, and we will give you email addresses so that you can reach out to people directly. When you're emailing a prospective mentor, you want to just briefly introduce yourself and why you're contacting them, and then explain how the projects they're working on, why are they of interest to you, and what experiences do you have that would make you good in a similar type of internship? And then just ask them, do you have any internship, projects available this summer? And so that is one of the primary ways that students get internships, is they really do that proactive work to reach out to mentors. This will help you develop your networking skills, which are critical, and really improve your chances of getting a mentor. And you want to make sure that, of course, you're reaching out to mentors yourself. You don't want to have anyone reach out to a mentor on your behalf. You want to make sure that you reach out to them by yourself. And the other thing I forgot to mention is always attach your resume and your cover letter, if it's available, to the email as well. That will very much impress the mentor. Next slide, please. So the next slide is resume tips. Now I have an entire presentation in one of the links that I sent you all. I sent you a link to some of my key resources, so you can go through that. Doing a resume and a cover letter for LANL is very different. You've probably heard advice that your resume and your cover letter should only be 1 page long. That is not the case at LANL. You can have a 2-3 page resume as long as the information is relevant. We want to know more about you, not less about you. So don't go back digging to like middle school and stuff, which sometimes I see, but do include anything that's relevant about the position. So things that students sometimes forget to put in the resume are all of the amazing things that you do outside of school for your communities, any kind of community service or volunteer work or leadership experience that you have. Maybe you were the captain of the sports team, or maybe you lead a volunteer group that does like Meals on Wheels, that kind of stuff. We want to know those things about you. Other things about your resume, because this is an internship program which is connected to your education, your resume should start with your contact information. It should have a brief objective statement, and then we want to see your education information. So the name of your school, the name of your major, your cumulative GPA, your anticipated graduation date. That's what we want to see right away. And then also too, it's really good to include a list of the courses that you've completed that are relevant to your interest areas at the lab. So if you're a science student, you're a STEM student, you can include all kinds of science classes that you've taken in there, and your math, or maybe if you're business, you would want to put in there the business classes you've taken, and maybe you took technical communication, those kinds of things. So it's really good to include those courses that you've taken that are relevant. As I mentioned earlier, we really need students with computing skills. And so if you have a lot of computing skills, you can make that a separate section. We're particularly interested in students who have skills with programming languages, especially C, C++, and Python. Those are some big ones. And students with those skills have an opportunity to work at multiple different places around the lab. Just, your resume is not when you want to be humble, right? I typically find that young people are doing such amazing things and they really sell themselves short when they get to their resume. So do not be shy and tell us all the things that you are involved in. And it doesn't have to just be about your school, okay? Any of those other things you're even doing outside of class. Sometimes I'll find students are part of a, robotics club outside of school. That's the kind of thing we want to know about. It's really helpful when you're sitting down to do a resume to just kind of brainstorm all of your experiences and all of your achievements. Did you get scholarships? Were you awarded for different things? Did you work on a really cool project in one of your classes where you produced something that you're proud of? Keep all that stuff in mind. At Llano, we are going to read your resume and your cover letter. You'll hear people say, oh, they're just going to scan it. We'll actually really read it. So you want to put as much effort as you can into doing your resume and cover letter. And I'm guessing, Bruno, you can answer this for me. I'm guessing there are probably resources that they can take advantage of this, in the Career Center to help them with their resumes and cover letters, correct?
Correct. As Sarah mentioned in the chat, you guys can send your resume and cover letter to studentjobs@nmc.edu so we can review it before you submit to Llano. And also, we have a whole presentation about resume and cover letter with Junior Hamilton from Llano. It was last semester and is in our YouTube page. I'll get the link and I'll post in the chat too. But yeah, course, you guys can send the resume cover letter. We'll take care of that in the career service office. And Cassandra, there's a question from Aaron Lopez here. He asked if will this guarantee us a position or is just for internship?
This is for internships, what I'm talking about today. However, if you're looking for full-time staff positions, you're still going to go to llano.jobs. And actually, in that link that I sent you that has the folder with all the different resources, if you're applying for a staff position, you're very much going to want to look at that PDF document that says application and hire guidance. That is a guide that will help with creating a resume and cover letter for a full-time staff position.
You also mentioned that starting on an internship, it helps with placement, right?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, you also mentioned that starting with an internship, it helps with your placement in a full-time job, right?
Definitely. Yes. So our internship program is what's called a workforce pipeline program. So our primary purpose with our internship program is to train people to eventually be able to take full-time positions once they're done with their education. That's the purpose of our program, is to transition students eventually to staff positions. Now, that doesn't mean that every single person who comes in as an intern will eventually become a staff member, but it's a pretty big percentage of people that do. So that's the other kinds of things when you're doing an interview, you can ask them, like, will this position go on beyond this summer? And then once you get settled in and you know you're doing a good job, that's something you could explore with a mentor is, does this position have the opportunity for conversion at some point to staff? I would probably wait and make sure you're doing a really good job before approaching the idea of conversion, but you can make sure from the beginning that it's a position that's going to, maybe you can come back multiple summers in a row. That's something you could definitely ask in the interview process. Next slide, please.
There you go.
Thank you. And this is just brief. There is an entire presentation on doing cover letters in that folder that I shared with you all, but I can't state this enough that it is critical to research your prospective employer before doing your cover letter or your resume. A lot of students think that if they put in their cover letter that they'll do anything, that's going to improve their chances of placement. At LANL, it is not going to improve your chances of placement. People who are reading your cover letter and your resume are going to want to see that you researched the lab and determine how you fit in and why you would be a good fit. Since you won't necessarily know who you're addressing with your cover letter, you should just say like, dear student mentor, or you can address it to me if you would like. Either option is fine. You don't want to include filler statements that don't really, say anything about who you are or what you're interested in. Instead, you want to make sure that you're very specific about why you're applying. Explain what your specific interest areas are in terms of an internship, and tell us about your experiences and skills that would make you a good intern. And that doesn't just mean your technical or professional skills, right? Keep in mind your soft skills. Maybe you are really good at doing public presentations, those kinds of things. We definitely want to hear about that. And it's also really good to put your academic and career goals in there. Mentors like to see students who are really excited about certain discipline areas and have thought about what their future plans are. I'm not saying that anyone is going to hold you to it. If you say, I'm going to be a mechanical engineer and you change your mind later, that's okay. We're not going to hold you to it, but we want to see that you've thought about it and that you kind of have some plan in place for your future and how this internship would benefit you. Next slide, please. So all of my contact information is on here. You can see my email. You're welcome to reach out to me if you have questions after you review the website. I also have my LinkedIn link on here as well. I frequently post all kinds of internship opportunities on there if you'd like to see those. There's just so many, sometimes it's difficult to put them all in one place, and LinkedIn is the easiest place to do it. But don't hesitate to reach out, and I'm sorry that my Zoom cut out, and I really appreciate you all being here. So with that, are there any more questions for me?
Yes, I do have a question.
Okay.
So I just wanted to ask about international students, because I'm an international student and I don't know if I could apply or be selected by LANL being international.
Yes, we have lots of international students who intern at LANL. And something to note, as an international student, there's additional paperwork to do. And so if you're thinking of applying for an internship, you would definitely want to do it immediately, because there is paperwork that has to be done so that the mentor can have permission to bring an international student or any international person onto lab property. But yes, you can definitely apply to positions. If there was you could look at job ads. If there was a special job ad that might say citizenship was required, but there are plenty of options that don't require that. We have lots of international students at the lab. Great question.
Okay, thank you.
Cassandra, we have some questions here in the chat. I guess Jasmine and Alicia asked the same thing. Is there an age restriction to this program, age requirement?
Yes. So a student has to be at least 16 years old in order to intern at LANL. And there's additional points that I have to make with that. So for example, the very soonest that any student can intern at LANL is when they are both 16 years old and have senior standing in high school. That's the very earliest that a person can intern at the lab. So we only have requirements on minimum age. There is no requirement on maximum age. So for example, we've had interns before who are in their 40s and their 50s because they switch careers and are doing, going back to school and doing an internship. So there's no restrictions in terms of how old someone can be, just how young they can be. Good question.
And we have a question from Clarice. She asks, does the engineering part include electrical line work?
Yes, there is an office. There's a couple of different offices actually that work with electromechanical students. So if you're interested in that, I think you should shoot me an email and I'll find out, because I think there's a new contact for that. So if you're interested in that, do apply to the engineering one and send me your resume and cover letter, and I'll get it to whom it needs to go to.
Thank you, Clarice. Aaron has asked a question. I am a film student. Is there anything for my major?
So for film, we actually do have an office that does videography. And so that would be an excellent option for you. They don't hire tons of interns, but they do hire some, because we have all kinds of promotional videos that we make. So that would be something that you would want to consider. And that's in our communication arts and services.
Awesome.
It looks like they just let me back into the Zoom. Can you all still hear me?
Yeah. It says you're connecting
perfect.
to audio right now.
Okay.
We have a question from Alexis. I will be considered a senior once I finish my junior year to work in the summer, correct?
For a student who is a junior right now, correct?
Yes. It looks like.
Yes. So students who are juniors in high school right now will be considered to have senior standing this upcoming summer. And you can still find the information about the high school internship program on that link I included in the presentation slides. And the application requirements are the same in that it requires a cover letter, a resume, and your current transcript, and a 3.0 cumulative GPA.
Awesome. And Yvette Pacheco has a question. Do GED students qualify?
A GED student?
Yes.
Yes, as long as you are now attending college. As long as you meet the undergraduate eligibility requirements, then students with a GED qualify. Yes, good question. You guys are asking good questions.
And one more question from Jasmine. Does this program allow you to choose the location of the internship?
That is going to be determined by what the mentor needs for their project. So right now, we have a combination of students who are doing completely remote internships, they are doing on-site internships, and they're doing hybrid internships. So, both remote and on-site. And so that is going to be up to the mentor. So if you have a restriction, like you will only consider remote or you'll only consider on-site, then you'll want to make sure to indicate that in your cover letter.
Awesome.
Good question.
I have a question. Oh, Claudia, go ahead. You
okay, I didn't want to interrupt you. Okay, so I have a question. I'm actually going to get my associates this semester from Santa Fe Community College, but I was thinking of going for the mechanical electrical that they offer there at Northern, because I've taken some classes there at Northern. what was the program that you said that you could apply for internships there at Lano for mechanical electrical? I just want to sort of get a feel for what mechanical electrical is.
So I would apply to the undergraduate engineering job ad, but I actually need to find the contact information for the person who works with electromechanical, because I think that changed recently. So I need to find who the new person is. You shoot me an email, Claudia, and then when I find it, I'll be able to provide you that information.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
And then we have one more question in the chat. Alejandro asks, what are the starting and ending date for the internship?
Good question. So for the summertime, most students are starting in early June and they're done by early August. However, internship start and end dates are determined by the mentor and their project needs. So it can be variable. Sometimes we have students who are starting as late as July and they stay until September. It just kind of depends. You know, one intern, they might want you to work full-time during the summer, which is most common. Most students work full-time hours during the summertime, Monday through Friday, you know, during business hours. But they might also want you to stay on in fall and spring. And of course, you'd have to reduce your hours when you go back to school. But it really depends on what the mentor needs. So that's the kind of thing you really want to make sure you ask when you go to an interview. The majority of internships are usually 10 to 12 weeks long during the summertime, full-time hours. And like I said, start in early June and end in early August. Good question.
Awesome, thank you. I have a question. What is the importance of internship? Even though you don't place a full-time job at Lano, what is the importance of internship, in your opinion?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. There's a lot of different things that are important about an internship. So first of all, gaining professional hands-on skills, and this is a professional position. I mean, any jobs you all have at this time are great, but this is kind of like supercharged, right? Because you're going to be working in a really professional, high-profile environment. Getting an internship at the lab is prestigious, and that is going to not only give you excellent hands-on experience, but it's also going to really increase the prestige of your resume as well. Also, when you're at Lano, like I talked about, you get to take advantage of networking with people in so many different fields, people who are in the cutting edge of their fields, right? They're not just good at what they do, they're on the cutting edge. Maybe you're exploring different careers. Maybe you know you want engineering, but you don't know what area. You can come to the lab and yeah, you'll have a mentor, but that doesn't mean you can't conduct informational interviews with staff members in all of these different areas that interest you to learn more about those fields and maybe help you get on that track to the exact type of career that you want. So I think networking is key because these are also the people who can help you get into future academic programs. Maybe you want to go on and get the 4-year or graduate school, get a master's degree or a doctorate. And I was also thinking, so at Lano, for students who are graduate level, there's an option if the group approves, the hiring organization approves, they can also help pay for your tuition at the graduate level. So if that's something you're thinking about, you can also get prepped for that. There's also a lot of data. This is stuff that I study, so you may get a longer answer than you wanted. But students who participate in internships, they get better grades, they graduate more quickly, and they're more employable upon graduation and tend to make more money when they graduate and start a full-time job. So there are just so many benefits to doing an internship. I could probably go on about that for quite some time. But those are the main ones.
Awesome. Thank you. We got one more question. Is there a chance of getting selected to work permanently at Lano after the internship if you are an international student?
There is. there are areas within the lab where people with who are foreign nationals can get full-time positions. Yeah. That's where you have to look at that job ad and see if it references whether or not a U.S. citizen security clearance is required. But there are areas.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions for Cassandra?
I actually have 2 questions. So I'm a recipient of the LAESF scholarship, and that's the current internship that I'm like focused on. But you've been mentioning other internships. Do you think I should just apply for that one, or do you think I should apply for like a variety of ones that I think like I could fit in for?
So Eduardo, have you applied to it and you're waiting to see if you were awarded, or you were awarded last season?
No, I was awarded last season. I'm a recipient of it.
Then you want to apply to that. You want to apply to the LASIF internship program. So I'm the person who's been emailing you about that. You definitely want to apply to that one. I wouldn't apply to any of the other ones. Apply to the LASIF one, because that one comes with placement assistance specifically for LASIF scholars, and it's supported by our director's office. And so we tend to place the majority of students in LASIF. Not always every single person, but a lot of them, the majority of them. I think last year out of 50, we almost didn't place 2. So definitely apply to that one.
Okay, and I know we're supposed to submit a transcript to like extend that scholarship. Who exactly would I send my transcript to?
So that's actually managed by the Lano Foundation. And so you'll need to reach out to Mike Emmerman or Sarah Gissinger. I know it gets confusing because the Lano Foundation that administers that scholarship is actually a completely separate organization from the laboratory. And so their scholarship program directors and the assistant director are the people that you'll want to reach out to. And I think you can just get their email if you look up the Lano Foundation. If you can't find it for some reason, let me know and I'll find it for you. But you'll want to check in with Mike and Sarah.
Sarah?
Hi, Bruno. Thank you. Cassandra, thank you so much. Your presentation has been super informative. I had a quick question on behalf of Alejandro, who was the international student from Spain that was asking about perhaps being sponsored. But I'm also serving as the PDSO for Northern. So I grant the I-20s, the non-immigrant paperwork for the incoming international students. And I also grant them what's called OPT and CPT through Department of Homeland Security, their optical practical training or their curricular practical training, which allows them to work for up to a year in the United States post-graduation. Do you know if that is the case, CPT and OPT, would that suffice for being able to work at the lab, or would they also have to go through sponsorship through the lab?
They're still going to have to do things on the lab side.
Okay.
There's additional, there's still things they'll have to do on the lab side, but they're going to need, we do have students who intern at the lab after they complete their undergraduate degree. They're called postdocs. And they can actually be postdocs for up to 2 years at Lano. But there has to be a coordination between the immigration office and then the OPT, because
coordinator.
you have to do stuff on both sides.
Okay, that's totally understand. I just was wondering if there was an easier way because we have a number of international students that we host that do want to work at the lab. I appreciate that information, and I wanted to give everybody the advice as the career services coordinator at Northern that Cassandra and I connected on LinkedIn. She happened just to inbox me to ask if we had any interested students at Northern in internships. So this is another reason to really get your LinkedIn profiles or professional profiles polished so that it can help you in your internship and job search. And I know last semester we hosted a LinkedIn workshop, and we may have that. So stay tuned, students, because it's a really good way to network and connect. So thank you, Cassandra.
Happy to do it. Yeah. And you can also follow organizations you're interested in. So you can follow LANL as well. You can follow me and you can follow LANL to get more information. And somebody asked me about the salary link in the chat. So I'm just going to put it in there as well so that you can see it.
Awesome. Any other questions? I'm just putting links on the chat. The first link that I sent you was the LinkedIn workshop that we had last semester. And the second one is the Lano resume and cover letter workshop that we had. So you guys can access and then check that out too. Yeah. Any other questions? Well, just a final question, just to help to promote the event that we'll have later in the semester. What is the importance? You mentioned that we have an interview with the mentor. What is the importance of that interview?
The interview, the resume and the cover letter get you the interview. The interview is what gets you the position. The interview is where you get the chance to really elaborate on your resume and your cover letter. A resume and cover letter can go really far to explaining who you are, but obviously, right, when we meet people in person, that's when we really determine like what we really know about a person and whether or not they have the kind of personality that's a good fit for the institution. That's where you're going to get to really expand on what makes you a good fit for a position and why you should be considered. It's just amazing to me. If you do some prep in advance with your interview, you can really, really improve your chances of getting a position.
Awesome, thank you. And just to promote the event that we'll have later on the semester, we'll have a mock interview week, and we'll host Lano. Just to explain what is a mock interview, it's just a fake interview that you use to prepare and then develop your interviewing skills. So be aware of that for you guys that are trying to get into Lano, and I think it will be very, very helpful. And yes, I guess that's it. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Cassandra, thank you so much for this presentation. It was amazing. I hope we'll have a lot of students getting internships and jobs at Lano.
I hope so too. Thank you so much for having me. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Cassandra.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Vic and
Thank
Drew,
you.
Thank
for
you.
facilitating.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.